I know I'm going to get hate for this segment, but it has to be done. If I don't hold progressives to the same standards as conservatives, what am I doing, right? I agree with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on many issues, but if that excuses her from critical analysis of what she's doing and what she's saying, I am doing a disservice to everyone in the audience and I lose credibility. So I'm not picking on her here. I know that she's new, but no one is forcing her to say the things she's been saying on Twitter and during interviews. She's a congresswoman elect and she is now subject to scrutiny. I care so much about the progressive movement that I don't want anyone, including her, going out and saying things that don't make any sense. Now, she recently tweeted that there's a double standard, that when Paul Ryan was elected to Congress at age 28, everybody called him a genius, but people are calling her a fraud for being 29 and having been elected to Congress. I never called Paul Ryan a genius. I'm not calling her a fraud. I'm merely analyzing her statements the same way I would anyone, with the context that I agree with a lot of her views. So please don't lump this in with the irrational anti-AOC stuff that has infected the right. Let's get into it. First problem, AOC starts tweeting about Medicare for all. Great, full disclosure, I support Medicare for all. There's a number of very serious studies about how it is that Medicare for all would save us money in the net. And if you ask right now in the Democratic Party, who are some of the most prominent Medicare for all voices in favor of Medicare for all, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is probably one of them. No doubt, that's great. I agree with the policy. But then she goes on Twitter and says, quote, $21 trillion of Pentagon financial transactions could not be traced, documented, or explained. $21 trillion in Pentagon accounting errors. Medicare for all costs $32 trillion. That means 66% of Medicare for all could have been funded already by the Pentagon, and that's before our premiums. This is really dumb, okay? This is silly. Her argument is, we don't even really need to worry about what Medicare for all will cost because 2/3 of the cost could be funded from the missing money and accounting errors of the Pentagon. Now, it's true that there's a ton of money in so-called missing money, but it's not money that's missing in the sense that if you find it, then you can use it. There's a major problem here with the reasoning. There are transactions that are inadequately documented by the Pentagon. There is no evidence that the money is sitting around somewhere and could be used to pay for part of Medicare for all. This is just the wrong argument in favor of Medicare for all. This is based on just an incredibly simplistic misunderstanding by the Congresswoman-elect about what it means that the Pentagon has lost track of money. She's sort of furthering the idea that the 21 trillion might be just somewhere. And as soon as we find it, we can pay for 2/3 of Medicare for all. That's just not the case. We're talking about money that is improperly accounted for or tracked or documented. These are accounting issues. They're not, there's a pile of money sitting around. It's a really simple mistake, which she just can't be making. Okay. We have good ways to talk about paying for Medicare for all. This is a way to self-sabotage Medicare for all activism. Someone's just got to explain it to her. Now, somebody did apparently later explain it to her, and she followed up after being criticized by saying, well, I'm not literally saying use the missing Pentagon money. I'm just making a comparison about how the numbers being thrown around for Medicare for all aren't that much bigger than these so-called accounting errors. But it was too late. The initial tweet got all the attention, and she was flat out wrong. Nonpartisan fact checkers have no choice but to say this is wrong. And this is, pants on fire for Pinocchios, whatever scale they use. And that's bad for the movement that I support. Next, she gets into it with Donald Trump Jr. on Twitter. Now, again, full disclaimer. I like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I agree with lots of her politics. I find Donald Trump Jr. to be a disgusting human being. I think he's committed crimes for which he will be indicted. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez messed up again, appearing to threaten to use her political power to get back at Don Jr. for making fun of her on the internet. Donald Trump Jr. posted a disgusting meme about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez which had a picture of her and said, "Why are you so afraid of a socialist economy?" Followed by a picture of Donald Trump saying, "Because Americans want to walk their dogs, not eat them." Now, of course, both communist and non-communist countries around the world sometimes have the tradition of seeing dogs as just another type of animal whose meat we might eat. It's not really a big political insight, right? So far, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has the upper hand. She's been targeted in a disgusting and stupid way by Don Jr., but then she tweets, quote, "I have noticed that Junior here has a habit of posting nonsense about me whenever the Mueller investigation heats up. Please keep it coming, Junior. It's definitely a very, very large brain idea to troll a member of a body that will have subpoena power in a month. Have fun. Big mistake." I get it. Don Jr.'s disgusting. I can't stand the guy. He's posting horrible things. I support the House using its subpoena power for investigations. But this is an unforced error. We don't subpoena people for trolling online. We subpoena them because we determine that they should be subpoenaed for participation in potential crimes, knowledge about crimes, or for other reasons. The mere implication, Pat, that his trolling is something that might get him subpoenaed is an unforced error, completely misguided, and she really shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I think she absolutely should be doing better here, and maybe there's a case to be made that we should have some sort of farm league, right? Before progressives get into the upper ranks of Congress, they should first have some sort of training, maybe run for lower level offices so they can kind of build up that repertoire and all that experience. There's certainly a trade-off here because when you have younger, less experienced folks in office, they're fiery, they're creative, they can rally people behind them, but they're also more prone to making mistakes, and that's what's been going on here.
Yeah, and of course, there would be no way to enforce that farm league, but I understand what you're saying, that when you are sort of shoved into the limelight in such a prominent and rapid way, that this type of stuff can happen. And right-wingers now are saying she may have even broken the law by doing this. I don't think she did, but this is a completely unforced and avoidable error. And Friday, I'm going to deal with what she should be doing. But to sort of give you an overview, it's media training and getting more informed about basic economics and history and sort of how government works. I mean, there's no secret here. She's going to learn this stuff. And I say this all with peace and love. Lots of attention is being paid to her. I don't want her damaging the movement I support because she's making these mistakes, which make her a target in a way that is not necessary and is counterproductive. If you disagree, and I know many of you will, let me know. But my criticism here is not an attack on her. It's because I want her to be a steward of the movement in which we share so many ideals. Period. Full stop. That's my objective. Follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. The show is also on Instagram at David Pakman Show. Quick break, and then part 2 of my interview with Zoltan Istvan is coming up next.